is growing coffee itself, is this harder? And cacao, is this harder?
Yeah, it's very hard. Like in my area, like my own family, they didn't want to grow coffee anymore because it was not profitable. You were It's very risky. Like we used to plant, like if we planted 1,000 trees, 300 of them died between the first month. And
Wow.
then we had like 40 to 50% rate of trees that died over the first 3 months. So we had to
Wow.
replant half of the trees. So it was very risky. It was very risky. And I also think varieties are very important.
The introduction to regenerative coffee farming workshops are now available on demand in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. For coffee producers, the workshop is available for just $10, and for everyone else, it's $20. Led by our incredible professors, the workshop is packed with practical knowledge and strategies to help coffee farmers and the entire coffee industry adapt to the challenges of climate change, rising costs, and market demands. If you're a business owner, this workshop is a great and affordable way to inform your employees about the challenges ahead while also supporting Mapper Forward. Head to mapperforward.coffee/workshops or click the link in the description to purchase the on-demand version and start your journey towards a more sustainable coffee future today. Welcome to the Mapper Forward Middle East podcast, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and this is episode 1 of a brand new 5-part series with Angela Barrero from Bodega de la Finca in Colombia. Angela, welcome to the Middle East podcast for the first time, but back to the podcast for like the 5th or 6th time.
Thank you, Lee. I'm very, very grateful for this invitation.
It's a pleasure to have you on. You are the first person coming on the podcast in the Middle East podcast that is a farmer. And we specifically want you to come on the podcast because we're asking the questions. So that the thing that we're exploring over these 5 episodes is, will we have coffee and cacao in 25 years? And the reason we've included cacao is because Angela is a cacao farmer. She has some of the best cacao you'll ever taste, as well as the best coffee you'll ever taste. And Angela has a very interesting story of how she grows her cacao and her coffee, and it is connected to regenerative agriculture. Now, if you do not listen to the global podcast, you won't know what we mean by regenerative agriculture. So we will be exploring that through this series. And in this episode, we're going to talk about, is it harder to grow coffee and cacao today than it was 5 years ago, and why? So before we get started with that, Angela, can you give people a bit of a background about who you are and about Bodega de la Finca? Just a very brief one.
So thank you, Lee. I am a 3rd-generation coffee farmer. We come from a family of farmers that were indigenous, like my abuelita and my abuelito. They come from indigenous communities, but we don't know much information about the past of their families.
Mm-hmm.
They used to work for these big farms. So my abuelita was the cook for these big farms, and my abuelito was like an employee. But their knowledge, my abuelita has all this knowledge on plants, medicinal plants. She used to grow a lot of medicinal plants. And my abuelito used their indigenous knowledge in these farms where he worked, and he became like the administrator of the farms. And that was how our family got like a big step and changed the story. So my uncles were able to study from coffee, like the coffee gave us the opportunity to study, to keep up the family. And my abuelita passed away in 2017, and we did like a heritage to her, and we created Tiolita, like a brand. We registered the brand,
Coffee roasting
and
brand.
and we began. We didn't have equipment, so we didn't like maquila. So we began doing like a profile and finding out the best roasting curve for our coffee. And people were in love. Like we began for her 100th birthday year. We gave her this gift because when she was young, she used to take the second quality coffee, hand picked, hand roasted, and hand grinded. And she sold it like in little bags, and she was pretty successful doing that around
Wow.
50 years ago. And we said, she inspired us. She's like our inspiration. Our abuelito died very young. I think because he worked so hard, he died very young. And then we have three uncles that dedicated to the farming. Two of them already died. So I still have one of my uncles alive. And I really felt I needed to step out of a corporate job I had in palm oil and come back to the farm and really learn about him because he's like a treasure of knowledge. And so we have en Bodega de la Finca, it's this house like the house I am in. I don't know if you can see it, but this is a 150-year-old house. And it used to be an old bodega. So bodega was a place where the farmers would come from the mountain back to Armenia. And so Armenia was like the hub where people bought the coffee. So they had the millings for the coffee, and then they exported the coffee through Buenaventura. So bodega was the mile, like, it was like a house where they used to buy this coffee out of the mountain. So
Right.
this house wasn't in our family until about 30 years ago, before the earthquake of Armenia. And so the owner of this house sold it to our family because my abuelita was in love with this house forever. Like when we bought it, she came to live here until almost she died. So that's why it's called Bodega de la Finca, because this house was a heritage from coffee, like a coffee heritage. And I thought it was beautiful, like the story. But they don't buy coffee anymore because people don't grow coffee anymore in my area. My area 100 years ago used to be the largest coffee grower area in Colombia, but not anymore.
And that's where we want to kind of touch on all of this. Just for some reference, folks, abuelita and abuelito means grandmother and grandfather. And Armenia is a state that's in Colombia, and the area that Angela's in. She's specifically in the Quindío region of Armenia, right, Angela?
Yeah. In Colombia, there used to be, in Quindío, there used to be more than 20 mills. This is about 100 years ago, because all the coffee from Colombia was exported through Buenaventura, which is a port that is in the southwest side, and it's connected to the Pacific Ocean. So all the coffees will come here. It was like a hub. And from here, there was a railroad connecting to Buenaventura to sell the coffee. So even today, big companies have their milling sites here.
Right. But you did say it's very hard, like almost nobody grows coffee around there anymore. There's a lot less
They
coffee that's being grown.
they have got what's happening is because I am in an area that is from 800 meters above sea level to 1,300.
Mhm.
So this area where I am, there was a valley of a river called La Vieja, and this was like the first part of the mountain that goes to this mountain. It's almost a valley, but I'm in the foot of the mountain. But here the climate has gone up. Like people say 3 degrees is bad. We have gone up now more than 10 degrees in
Wow.
some times of the year. So it's too hot for coffee. The FNC says we are marginal low. That means too risky to grow coffee.
Right.
And so what has happened, so farmers sold their farms in these areas and they bought cheaper lands on high altitudes.
Mhm.
So, but this is also very bad because as they go up, they have to take down the trees. Not all of them, but they have to install a crop in a mountain area that used to be like a forest.
This is where
Yes.
deforestation happens, right?
So now there is a law, but I am curious, Lee. This year we had very bad floods in Colombia and especially in Huila, which is the largest producer of coffee. And if you see Venezuela, they also have these massive floods this year in
Wow.
an area called Merida, which they are now growing coffee over there as well. And it's a landslides and floods
Wow.
in those areas. So I always wonder if coffee farming has an impact on these floods we see, because why are they in these areas where coffee migrated, like from
Right.
areas like where I am to up in the mountain?
Right. And the deforestation may have something to do with that?
Yeah, I wonder. I wonder because Merida is now this area in Venezuela where
Mhm.
there is a lot of coffee happening. We have a workshop here in the farm, and we had some people, like two people from Venezuela, came to see learn with us, and they told us about that area, and so we saw it. I saw it on the satellite, and I was impressed because it's
Mm.
these large amounts of coffee grown in this mountain area. And last year they told me about this boom of coffee over there. And then this year we've seen these bad floods over there.
Well, that wiped it all away?
I don't know how bad it was, if it wiped it all, but the thing that gets me thinking is especially where coffee migrates, we have the floods.
Right. So it seems to be they're correlated, is what you're saying, correct? Wow. Okay.
Yes.
So when it comes to these shifts that are happening, we see that, as you were saying, in Armenia and particularly in Kindio where you are, you have seen a decrease in the amount of coffee that has been grown over the last 100 years. I want to ask you specifically in the last 5 years, because I know that you've been heavily involved in coffee growing and cacao growing in the last 5 years. Is it harder to grow coffee and cacao today than it was 5 years ago?
I think it is. First, we have the climate change that this gives, like if you are in any industry, if you are in any business, you count on risks, right?
Hmm.
And you try to make these risks workable
Mm.
once you work. But farming has this, when climate change hits you, you don't know what you're gonna get. And insurance hasn't evolved in the way farmers need. So right now, for example, a farm like mine, won't have access to a risk mitigation like an insurance if I don't have a credit. So if I have a credit, I have an insurance. But if I want to insurance, I have been faced with like a slam in the door in your face because
Right.
they require you to have areas of like let's say I grow coffee. So I am a
Mhm.
coffee grower. I can't have plantain trees, banana trees. I can't have yucca. I can't, because if I have polycultives like I have, I grow like a eatable garden, then I'm not considered to be a coffee grower.
Oh, wow. This presents a problem in a big, big way.
For
Because in order
regenerative,
for you to be able to grow coffee, you have to be able to intercrop and to make sure that there are other things to keep the soil healthy.
yeah, like 3 years ago in 20, let's say, no, that was 2023. We had, we 2022, we had 13, we had like these big winds.
Mhm.
So now we have like from my abuelito time, we used to have wind barriers because we have these heavy winds, like they look like a mini tornado. So in 2022, we had 13 trees come down like a house of cards, like
Because the
all
winds were
down,
so strong?
so strong. And
Wow.
these were trees that were like big trees, not like,
Mm.
not, I don't know, very small. They were large trees. And so I requested because I had like an insurance.
Mhm.
And so they came to the farm and they said, if you have trees, what do you farm? Trees or coffee?
Oh,
And I was like,
of course, these are
"Mm,
finance people or banking people. They're not farmers. They don't
yeah.
understand.
So I don't know what is happening,
But
but something is wrong.
is growing coffee itself, is this harder? And cacao, is this harder?
Yeah, it's very hard. Like in my area, like my own family, they
Mhm.
didn't want to grow coffee anymore because it was not profitable. You were, it's very risky. Like we used to plant, like if we planted 1,000 trees, 300 of them died between the first month. And then
Wow.
we had like 40 to 50% rate of trees that died over the first 3 months. So we had to
Wow.
replant half of the trees. So it was very risky. It was very risky. And I also think varieties are very important, like
Mm.
the genetic
Mhm.
materials. So I know now that Brazil has developed some Arabica trees that are more resistant to heat waves and low precipitation, but we don't have those here.
And there's no guarantee that they will last, right? Or
No.
that they will grow
So,
or that they will how long they will continue. You know, this is a great place for us to look at the next. We're going to go into the next episode because I hope if you're listening, I hope that you've come to realize like there is a very real problem. The problem that's happening in Colombia, folks, we can guarantee you this is happening all over the world for coffee farmers. The climate is changing. The soil has been depleted for many generations, and it's not well. There's not a lot of nutrients left in the soil, and it's very hard to grow coffee. And so, if you want, go to the global podcast, the Daily Coffee Pro by Mapper Forward, and look for all of the times that Angela has come on the podcast. If you want to do a very deep, deep dive on the regenerative agriculture conversations that we've had. But join us in the next episode, in the meantime, where we're going to answer the question, is this problem solvable? And what are the barriers for farmers? Join us for that. Peace, love, and peanut butter. Have an amazing rest of your day. This episode is part of a 5-part series produced by Mapper Forward. Check the full playlist and guest details in the show notes, as well as how you can support our work in the coffee industry. Become a premium YouTube subscriber, explore our Patreon and any brands we've partnered with to bring you this podcast. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It really does help us grow our audience.